All right, Chuckleheads, welcome to week 9. This is your commish report for the week, and we're going to go over what happened last week and also go over what's going to happen this week. Starting with last week, Jimmy was able to beat me. Monday night was exciting. It was a fun time to get to watch the game with him. Unfortunately, my guys weren't able to pull it out, but that's okay. That also happened to Jeff's parents, so, you know, you can still end up okay. Speaking of Jeff, he was able to beat Mike and stop his comeback, although Mike gave him a run for his money again on Monday nights. I really like these games that come down to the wire. Even though I'm 0-2 in those games, thank you, Will, thank you, Jimmy, it's still fun to watch. So Jeff was able to beat Mike and remain in second in our division. Then we have Will absolutely crushing Sippy. I know the score looks bad, and it was just as bad as it looks. Will jumped out to a real early lead. Both these guys not starting the right quarterback, but in the end, didn't really make a difference. I guess if Sippy started Drew Brees, he would have won, but he'll just have to live with that regret for the rest of his life. So that's not too big of a deal. But Will remains ahead, and Will puts on a strong showing, which I think his team really needed. I know I've been saying every week that Will's team is very lucky, and they are in a sense that very few points have been scored against him, and he's scored very few points. But this week was a very strong showing, which I think definitely proves what his team's potential is, and I think having a high ceiling is going to help you in the playoffs because it always gives you that opportunity to put up 130, 140, which is what you need to win against some of the better teams in our league. And then we also have John able to beat Josh, or Mini John, unfortunately. So, but again, this shows that John's team is consistent. They're not dominant by any means. He only put up 104 points. If he had played 4 other people in the league, the 4 other winners, he would have lost. And there's something to be said for that. I think that John has the right matchups at the right times for his team, and that's fine. But in the playoffs, it's not going to work out so easily for him, I don't think. The only reason I say that is because I've been there. I've been 11-0 in the regular season because you get the right matchups, and week 1 in the playoffs you go out. So John is going to be playing against better teams in the playoffs, and we'll see how he fares, but I don't predict him going very far in the playoffs. And then after that, we had Kevin and Mitch, which, as I said last week, I didn't really care about. The score I didn't really care about either, but it is worth mentioning that Kevin gets another win, doubling his win total for the year, and perhaps starting to mount a comeback. The best part, I think, about this league so far is that nobody is out of it. It keeps things interesting, and in case you guys didn't notice, this morning I changed the playoff setup, so we have 6 teams. It's going to be the division winners will have a bye for the first round, and then the next 4 teams, based on record, will play each other, and the winners of those games will go on to play the division winners, and the winners of those games will go on to play in the championship. There is a consolation ladder as well. I haven't decided exactly what we're going to do for that, if we're going to make it interesting in any way, but it is worth noting that the loser of this league is not the man who is in 10th place at the end of the regular season. It is the man who loses out in the consolation bracket. The reason I say that is because if you can be in 6th place and win the championship, then you can be in 7th place and lose the league. That, to me, is only fair. So if you're in 7th place and you feel like, whatever, I don't care, you should. Coming in last place in the league we've yet to determine a real punishment for that person. Mostly because our league is very transient. Over the last couple of years, we've had to swap in and out players. I like the current group that we have. I think it's a good group. So we might be able to stick to a punishment here. But we'll have to talk as a league and figure out something that is both appropriate and humiliating for next year. So that was last week. Last week was a very eventful week. Not a whole lot jumbled in the standings. The standings are as follows. I am in first place in my division, followed by 1 game back is Jeff and Jimmy. Jimmy beating me this past week moved him up to tie him for second in our division by record. Now he's a couple points behind Jeff as far as points scored, but it's still very much he's in the playoffs as of right now. He's got the last slot. That's followed by Josh at 3 and 5 and Mike at 2 and 6 with his comeback stalled but not yet over. So all Mike has to do is be better than Jimmy at the end of the year, and he will be in good shape, or better than Jimmy and everybody below Jimmy, which is most certainly doable. There's 5 weeks left, so anybody can still get in the playoffs. In the other division, we have John at 7 and 1, followed by Will 1 game back, and we have Sip in third at 4 and 4. He gets the 5th place slot currently if the playoffs were to start today. And then we have Mitch and Kevin bringing up the rear at 3 and 5 and 2 and 6 respectively. Now, going on to this week, we have so many good games this week. We have Mike trying to fight his way back in the division, playing Jimmy, which is a great matchup for him, a great opportunity for him to really take a game. We have Sippy playing Kevin, which is less exciting, mostly because neither one of them will be able to hear any trash talk that's said to them this week. And we have Josh playing Mitch. Mitch with an opportunity to kind of jumble things up in our division, but I wouldn't put too much faith in him on that. Then we have John playing Will. And that's great because Will, like I said, 1 game back behind John, has significantly less points scored. So even if he wins, he's not going to take over the first place in the division, but they will tie as far as record, which sets Will up for a nice end-of-the-year run to work his way into maybe getting a bye week at the start of the playoffs. And then lastly, our game of the week is myself, the commissioner, taking on El Jefe for our second matchup this year, and we are going to find out if Jeff has learned how to play fantasy football and can tie me on the year 1-1 for our record head-to-head, or if he chokes like a baby on a Lego and just shits the bed and cries, which is what I'm predicting. I'm sure you haven't, but if you look at the head-to-head points each week for me and Jeff, since week 2, we have alternated who would win. So week 2, he would have won, week 3, me, week 4, him, week 5, me, etc. If that pattern continues, which I think there's a large enough sample size for it too, then I will be winning this week. Moreover, Jeff is historically bad against me and tends to lose very often in the regular season, as evidenced by the fact that he was in lingerie during our draft. So I have myself winning that one. It's a close projection, and it'll be fun to watch. But really, the bottom half of my lineup is just better than the bottom half of his. And I've said it all year. The bottom half of the lineups, that's where your championships are won. The top half really is just irrelevant. So it's all about the bottom half of the lineup, and I know mine is better than his. With Mike and Jimmy, I have Mike beating Jimmy this week. He's projected to by quite a bit, and I think Mike has a good team. I think he just slipped up last week. So I think he's going to take over Jimmy's team this week and really give it to him. No pun intended. And Mike is going to jump up in the division, which is great. I really want Mike to fight back and get in the playoffs. I think that would make things really interesting. Then we have Sippy against Kevin. Whoever wins, I'm not really concerned about it. But that being said, I think Kevin gets the win this week. Mostly because I want him to, A, B, he's on a little bit of a streak. He's won a total of 1 game in a row now, which is tying his season record. So I think Kevin is going to win this one against Sippy. At which point Sip will find some ungodly reason to blame it on. But mostly it comes from the fact that Sip has indecision when starting a lineup and seems determined to lose, as evidenced last week when he benched Drew Brees for Tyrod Taylor. So I think Sip is just going to do it to himself. Again, no pun intended. Man, I'm on fire with these. Then we have Josh against Mitch. And I have Mitch winning this one. I think that Josh's team's on a downhill slide. Mitch's team has been that way all season, but Mitch is projected to win, both of them with full lineups. And I'm really just going to go by the projections on this one. I think Mitch is due for a win, and he's lost a couple close ones here. So I think he's ready to get a win, and I think that Josh is. Well, I don't know anything about Josh. I haven't heard from Josh since the beginning of the year, so Josh could be dead in a ditch somewhere, and I wouldn't even know, unfortunately. So maybe he will respond to this, see it, maybe not. Josh, if you're out there, this is me sending smoke signals. Are you alive? And that's why I'm not going to pick him this week. And then John against Will. This one is interesting. The projections are only 3 points apart. They are both projected to score highly this week comparative to the rest of the league. They're the two highest projected scores at 117 and 114. And I'm going to give this one to Will. And the reason I say that is because the last couple weeks, Jonathan has struggled to meet his projections or exceed them. He's struggled to really put up top scores for the week like he was earlier in the year. And Will, coming off a really great week, I think he's going to end up beating him. Also, John is plagued by buys this week. He's got, I think, 4 people on bye, and bye weeks will really hurt you. Luckily, with mine and Jeff's matchup, we both have a lot of players on bye. Not that it matters, because Jeff's team is so patchwork anyway. It's like Frankenstein's monster, and I plan on putting him down this week. So those are my predictions for this week. It's a short Commish report this week, guys, but I'm off to bigger and better things. So hopefully Monday night I can call Jeff and hear him quietly sob about his team going 0-2 against me this year. And hopefully I see him in the playoffs, or see any of you in the playoffs. I look forward to seeing how the playoffs shake out and how the rest of the season shakes out. Hopefully no more injuries. And I guess I will see you guys next week. So that's me signing out. That's your Week 9 Commish report.